Hi, I'm Kim Macleod.
And I'm Gerald Richards, and welcome to Soul Kind Connections. We hope you enjoy our conversation today.
We are recording. Oh my goodness, here we are. This first podcast episode of Soul Kind Connections.
Yes.
We've been talking about it for a little while.
Yeah, I think talking about it and just deciding, let's just do it, right? The thing that people should do, instead of overthinking it, we're just like, let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Before we hit record, we've been laughing about a few things and suggesting perhaps we maybe interview each other. No, introduce each other, is it? So people kind of get an idea of who we are and why we're doing this.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Do you want to start?
Okay. Am I introducing myself or am I introducing you? I'll introduce myself.
It's probably a good start. Yes,
that'll be easy. Right. So, hi, everyone. I'm Gerald Richards. Do you say the whole name?
Why not? Yeah. So they can find you later.
You can find me later, right? You find me on all the things that you can find me on. Because there are so many things to find people on nowadays. So I'm Gerald Richards. I am a native New Yorker. I was born and raised in New York City, but I now live in Scotland. I moved here about 8 or 9 years ago. Working to help start a nonprofit, but I'm sort of a nonprofit person, nonprofit worker. I've been a CEO. I'm a coach now. I run my own business, but I met the lovely woman who I'm talking to, Kim, about 4 years ago.
Yeah, probably is.
Was that 4 years ago? 4 years ago through, I think it's through an organization we were both members of, and sort of put us together. You reached out to me to talk to me about possibly starting a nonprofit. And I think I immediately said, don't do it. No, don't. I don't say it to everybody, but I was like, but having worked in nonprofit for like more than 30 years, I'm like, I know the good things and the bad things and how hard it can be to start something. But so I wanted to share that with him. But we just sort of stayed connected and decided to, I think we started talking like, let's talk once a month and just catch up and just see how we're doing. And that's been 4 years of doing that.
Yep, 4 years, and we've hardly missed a month, I think, in 4 years.
Right? Yeah, I don't think we've ever missed a month unless one of us is traveling or sick or something like that. But we talk once a month. And we just thought we would, I don't know if we share that, but we talk about so many different things.
We do.
And figured that some of the things we talk about, I don't know if one of the things I think we talk about is a connection, because I think you and I are from very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And have taken very different paths to how we get to this point in time. Thought that would be in a world where now connection and people seeing the best in people and connecting and wanting to just sort of be with other people in spirit and soul and connecting, we thought we would just do this.
Yeah.
So it's your turn.
No, it's my turn. Yeah. Well, I'm Kim Macleod. Born and raised and still living in Scotland. And have done lots of different things in the past. Way back, worked in HR, human resources, or as I started to call it, human remains before I left. So it was, it got a bit too, it was just, there was no joy in it for me any longer. So then kind of did some therapy work. I was NLP, hypnotherapy, EFT, tapping, got into all sorts of holistic stuff. And for anybody who's been in that space, it's probably the same thing. You start learning one thing and before you know it, you've gone through so many other things. Ended up running a publishing business, which is kind of where Gerald and I kind of paths crossed originally. And now, I'm just living life on the west coast of Scotland, enjoying the seaside. And my stuff now is all about community. And I've got a real passion for trying to create a kinder, happier world. So that's, and that's a lot of this conversation that this lovely man and I have had. Yeah, I kind of stalked him, really. He didn't really get much chance to get away from me.
Lovingly stalked me. Lovingly stalked.
But that was the thing. I think it's and we talked about that not long ago, about how many people would actually reach out to someone that they felt there was a connection with, and just say, do you know what, what about we just keep having these conversations, because I really enjoyed talking to you. Yeah, and like I said, we put the world to rights every month.
We try to every month, right?
Yeah, and but what always fascinates me is that we have this. There's usually a synchronicity of conversation. We start on something, we kind of go all the way around the houses. Yep, tangents, all sorts. But we end up back going, okay, so that's why we were talking about this today. And there's just, I think there's so much joy, and I have found one of my best friends ever in you. I mean, absolutely, adore you.
Same.
And and when I had managed to persuade you to come and be my guest on my in my business network, and people had seen then the video of the two of us chatting and said, "Oh yeah, you should share this." So here we are, deciding that it's time.
Yeah, I use my older sister as a bellwether for most things, because she will tell me the truth at all times, as all siblings will do. And I think I sent her the video, and she's like, "You two are hilarious together, and you two." I think she said, "She's adorable, Gerald." I said, "She is adorable, isn't she?"
I love her.
Right? She's like, "You two are great. You should do this more." And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's do." And I think we were, and that's sort of like you said, the part of where we come back to each other. I think we were probably both like, "Oh, maybe," and then we heard it. We're like, "Well, why don't we?" Right? Let's just do it. Let's just see. Right?
Yeah. And like you said, Gerald, about when there's a lot of division in the world, there's lots of times where people just seem to be angry and shouty. And it was like, yeah, so we are very different. We, that's it. There's I think people would maybe spot the obvious
difference.
If you're watching on video and not listening to us, then yes. So yeah, and I think that's it. We've come from very different backgrounds. There's times when we've not maybe understood exactly what each other are saying and speaking about because our experiences are different. But it's always been really interesting, and being open to, okay, so this is what you're sharing. I've never heard of that before. Oh, I'm going to go and look at that. I'm going to go and test that out. Or, and that I think that's deepened the connection and the friendship that we have because of that approach.
Yeah, I think wanting to learn about, right? Because we're different. And how do you learn about other people?
Yeah.
Except a willingness to be open, honest, and then to learn about other people rather than it being, well, I don't want to know. Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Let's, like I said, it's like the very different experiences and where we come at things, and we'll talk about things. And I'm like, wow, I don't know that at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy I learned so much from you when we talk, because there is, for me, I'm like, I don't know this stuff. And she knows things that I'm not going to know. And I think it's vice versa, right? Things we both know,
exactly.
Experiences we both have. And so how do we share that experience?
Yeah. And there's another aspect, I think, around the connection piece, is about being vulnerable.
Yes.
And and when you approach that, it's like, okay, I might get this wrong. I might not say the exact right words for something. I might just open up to me about how I'm feeling about this, and I'm feeling a little insecure or whatever. And that's I think that's a lot of what it takes then to be really connected to somebody, is willing to be vulnerable and potentially, but knowing that person is going to give you some grace.
Grace, which is what
See what I did there?
I like the segue. All right, right? What are we talking about today? Grace. Segue. See, smooth. This is how we work together. Smooth.
Smooth.
Into grace. It's talking about grace. I think,
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's the vulnerability, being vulnerable, and allowing people to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? And allowing people to be like, okay, I don't know. I think when we started talking about this, we've come at it from a couple different angles around grace. And I was talking today about, I bought a flat about a year ago. And it's first time, as a New York City born and raised person who's always lived in cities and always been in apartments and always rented, I went out and I bought something. But the trials and tribulations of me buying this place. But I love it. And I have a front yard, I have a backyard, and I have a front yard. And the backyard is a bit more manicured, and I have actually people come and do it because I have no idea what I'm doing and I refuse to do it myself so far. So I let them do it. So they're great guys and they come and do it. But the front yard, they're like, when you know what you want to do with it, do it. And it's a bit of someone decided they didn't want to have a yard, but they have a yard, but they didn't know what to do with it. And so there's all this weird stuff in it. It's just crazy. And so I haven't done anything, but there's a bush there. And the bush, I think in the coal, was growing and doing things and doing so it's been weird. But I came back from this weekend. I've been out of town a lot. And I came back and someone had cut the bush. So someone had cut my bush, which is where we were laughing hysterically at. So I was like, and I was upset because I'm like, how dare this person cut my bush? Who is this person cutting my bush? Every double entendre we just throw into there, we had it. I was just like, how dare they? What are they trying to see? It's right by my window. How dare they cut my bush? And I actually, my first thought was, this person cut my bush, and I was angry. I mean, you would be if someone cut your bush.
As you would be.
But you would
nobody
be
asked permission for it to get up close and personal.
You want to if we want to be less dirty about it, someone cut the flowered bush outside my house, the flora outside my house, without asking. And my first thought was, okay, well, first, why would someone do that? And the New Yorker in me immediately is suspicious, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this person's trying to see into my house. They're trying to do those things. Instead of me thinking, someone did something nice for me. Wow, that's really kind of someone doing it for me. I haven't had the chance to do it myself. It was looking a bit ragged and probably like in the neighborhood, there are some nice lawns and some nice things here. And people are probably like, that guy's bush is all unkempt.
It needs tidied up.
His bush needs tidying. His bush needs tidying. And so they did it. But I realized that it's sort of a theme in the world now is that people many times people assume ill intent.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, well, this person's probably doing something nice for me. I mean, no one's come forward to say who did it, so I have no idea who's done it, right? And so I'm like, okay, I might never know who's done it, and but instead of thinking someone was doing something for bad reasons, maybe they're doing something for a good reason, right? And so giving them some grace to be like, I'm going to give this person some grace, to think that the grace is that they are doing something for really nice, as a nice gesture towards one of their neighbors.
Yeah. And that's when we started talking about what will be our first podcast episode. And we said, let's explore grace. And this whole idea then that maybe there's just not enough grace in the world at the moment. So we're not giving people the benefit of the doubt. We're not giving people an opportunity to reflect, or to be, or sometimes then even to have the conversation. So you might find it was your neighbour, and you bump into your neighbour then, and they, so you could have ranted and gone round and bang all the doors and said, who cut my bush? Yeah. Or
The strange
going,
American black man is running around going, "Who's cutting my bush? Who's cutting my bush?" People are like, "What's up with that guy?" Right?
Yeah, we're not going to get near him again, Yeah. So, but it's, I suppose, yeah, like we were saying, it's maybe just that what we're seeing in the world, bringing that to something that seems quite silly. And yeah, and we've had a bit of a laugh with that this morning. But if this is the approach that a lot of the world has, is that we go from seeing something, and then just to ranting and raving about how terrible that is, or that's not where I am. And so and if we allowed a little bit more grace, would that create an opportunity for people to have conversation then, without it resulting in full-blown screaming match, or or being on the opposite sides of something?
Yeah, I think it comes back to vulnerability, right? Of people
Yeah.
being of like, right, there's something in letting your guard down and asking someone why, right? Or being curious about. I'm very interested in the lack of curiosity that's existing in the world today. The lack of like why people, who people are, why people are, what what you get to learn from people in it. And I think that part of it is grace, right? If we start ranting and raving and going, why did that happen? Like, why are you thinking that way? Why are you doing that? Right? Why are you being that way? Right? I think it's the thing we're talking about, like, not assuming ill intent from the beginning, but asking the question, like, okay, why is that? Why would you do that? Or why is that? Like, okay. And I might learn, that person might say to me, yes, I'm trying to see inside your house.
Yep. Because I'm just really curious what's going on in there.
What's going on in your house? You moved in and I have no idea who you are, and you haven't really talked to anybody because you're always traveling for work, so I have no idea who this guy is. So let's see inside his house. Let's trim his bush and see inside. If they want to be that honest about it, right? Or they might just be like, it was ugly.
Yeah, it was encroaching onto the path, and we couldn't get past, and we
couldn't get past. Yeah. It looked really unsightly.
Yeah, or we were just trimming this part over here and looking, and we thought, do you know what, that's going to look really odd now if this side's done and that side isn't. Maybe we'll just be nice and do that.
We'll just do it, right?
Yeah.
But that sort of grace of being that, giving that benefit to people, right? And that sort of great. I find that a lot of it is in work situations.
Yeah,
I would see this is where it manifests a lot, where people will assume that their boss is out to get my employees are out to get something bad is happening. Someone is trying to take something, right? You're trying to take my vacation days away from me. Right, you're trying to do this to me. We must see in human resources all the time, right? The first thing is, I'm going to file a grievance against you, instead of being like, oh, we've gone from 0 to 60.
Yeah. Instead of, could we actually have a conversation and try and understand what this is really about? Yeah.
Could we actually have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, right? Can we have a conversation? Can we talk, right? Rather than it being the almost automatically assume ranting and raving.
Because that's the thing of then, it is the assumption you're doing something against me. There's a lack of resources, therefore if you're getting something, I'm going to lose something.
Yes. Yeah.
And and therefore then I suppose the fear that comes around that, and the anger, and the just and to try and understand it. I suppose that's the thing, is being able to stop ourselves and go and explore what is this, what is coming from this, why is something changing, or why is something having to change, and is it really what I think it is?
Is it really what I think it is?
Yeah.
Talk more about that, because I think you're right.
Yeah. Because that's us totally in our, we're all conditioned by our own upbringing, our experiences, who we have around us, what our beliefs and values are. And I think that there are not that many people in the world who stop and even explore, well, why do I believe certain things, or where did my beliefs come from? So it's just automatically going, well, this is my view of the world. So this is either right or wrong in terms of my view of the world. And having the grace to give ourselves grace to say,
Yes.
okay, maybe if we stop for a little minute and think and explore this, then I might realise that there is another thing that I don't know. There's something I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it actually does require us to really consider that our view of the world isn't necessarily the only view of the world.
That's right. And I'm very fond of saying, and I stole this from someone and I don't remember who I stole it from. I don't know what I don't know, right? And because I don't know what I don't know, I'm willing to learn or find out what I don't know and hear someone out to be like, okay, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm just going to, you got to listen to all the things and hear what people are saying and stuff. And I think but that was learned over time, because my upbringing, that was not my upbringing, right? I don't think, not that I think my upbringing wasn't about being curious, but my upbringing growing up in New York City in the 70s and 80s, to us, my grandmother raised me. And here's a single woman raising her grandson and her other children who she raised and stuff in America at a time that was not, between civil rights and all these things. You become less trusting, because of course you would become less trusting, because you don't know. You have to create the world you want to live in. And I think she had to create the world she wanted to live in, right? And so therefore she was she was not a trusting human being.
Okay.
Which I find sad. I think she did as she got older, but I think she was not a trusting human being, and she sort of imparted that on me. Mm-hmm. From a very young age. Like, you can't trust anyone. I remember saying to me one day, like, you can't trust anybody. And me going, oh, and thinking, that seems okay, but also wrong. Right? But as my little brain, like, going, that doesn't seem right to me. Uh-huh. And over time, having to learn to trust people. Because I think a bit of grace is about trust, right? It's about trusting that someone is not out to screw you, or allowing yourself the space to trust that someone is not out to screw you. Not saying that there are not people out to screw people, because we see that happening all the time, right? Yeah. That's happening all the time.
But not everybody.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Not everybody. And sort of like giving yourself the opportunity to sort of be open to that trusting of like, okay, I'm going to take a step back a bit and learn. But it's like you said, our upbringing, it almost is a learned experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Or relearn, because children are trusting automatically, right? They have to be, right? They're trusting, they're open, they do it. And at some point we lose that through the upbringing, through where we are, through our circumstances. And it's almost like we have to relearn it again. And either people are not learning it or not wanting to learn it, right? I do believe that there are people that just want to be angry and it's easier. The default state is ranting, right? The default state is to not give grace, which I find I don't comprehend, but I don't comprehend that. So that is weird to me. I don't know. What do you think? I find that there's a lot of people, especially nowadays.
Yeah. And it is that, is it something though around belonging? Because that thing about, so you belong to the group that believes this thing, and whoever is then, that you want to be part of that, that's the group who believe in this, and I want to belong to a group, and I see that they seem to speak my language. They're using the words that actually really resonate with me. It maybe connects more with my beliefs at this point in time, or they've convinced me that that their
Yeah.
view of the world is right. And so therefore, if I want to belong and feel that I'm part of something, I can't speak out and think for myself. That I see a lot of that sort of going on at the moment as well. That sort of having to, so you have to hang your coat on on their hook about everything then. So, and without then being able to take a step back and say, okay, there's maybe a reason why I want to belong to this group and whatever it is that they're saying, whatever their view of the world is about make wherever greater again or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there can be, some real, maybe some real reasons in there about why that is appealing to that person, but not to be able to stop and say, so does everything that this group are saying, this leader is saying, whoever is kind of like being this is what you have to believe
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be part of this. And it can be anything, you may look at, from political parties to religions to cults to whether all sorts of things, isn't it? It's about, so if you're either totally with them or you're against them. And that's kind of where we seem to have come to. It's like so, and if I want to belong, I want to be part, because I think that's the thing we all seek connection. So we want
Yes.
to belong, but then it's like not questioning enough about, well, what is it that I'm really signing up to?
What am I? Yeah. What am I signing up to? And do I have to, right? It's a thing of, to your point of it having to buy, like you have to buy into all of it. Why do I have to buy into all of it? I don't have to buy into all of it. I can buy into pieces of
Mm-hmm.
it, but I don't have to buy
Yeah.
into all of it. But that thing of that belonging piece, I think is really right. People want to be a part of something.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want to belong to something. They want to. It's interesting to me. I think humans, and I think this is, we want to inherently be connected to each other,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? You see it in, it's interesting, and I always question this, and it always weirds me out. You will be in a movie theater. It will be pretty much predominantly empty, and everyone sits next. People sit next to you, right? Have you ever had that experience where you, like, I remember having that experience where we'd gone to a movie, we weren't even sitting in the middle, right? Because I'm a movie guy,
Yeah.
and I sit in the middle because I'm watching, I need to see, this is my experience. But the friend of mine and I went and we sat off to the side because we wanted to be near the aisle. We were like, oh, we don't need to sit in the middle. We'll be off to the aisle. But the movie theater was empty, and it was like one of those huge movie theaters. And these people came. This is before you could reserve seats.
Right. Yep.
And these people came and sat right in front of us. And my friend, I've never seen him this way. He is one of the calmest, chill vibe people that I have known, and I've known him for decades. And he went off. And I was even surprised, but I understood what it was. He was like, well, what? Why are you sitting in front of us? You have a whole movie theater. But I realized, because you see this all the time. You see it when you travel on trains. We see the people congregate. Because I think inherently we don't know it, but somewhere in our brains and somewhere in our souls is this need to want to connect and belong and be part of something, and be, whether it be, I need to be close to people, I need to be part of a group, I need to be part of something. But I like you, question the thing of, like, you don't have to buy into all of the things the group is doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you should be able to decide, I like that stuff, I don't like this stuff,
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
message, I don't like this message, right? Or it might be that and in some cases I think there's a thing of, like, there's some group, if you like that message and that message is kind of out, you then can't pick and choose, because, right, the main message is a screwed up message.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't be part of that, or you have to question why you are part of it, I think, or part of that piece of, like, I look at the US, and there are people who are like, well, I agree with some of this stuff that is being
Mm-hmm.
said, but I don't agree with all of it. But I'm like, but but in the whole, the stuff that's being said, or the
Mm-hmm.
platform that's being, is horrible.
Yeah.
and is racist and is right segregationist and xenophobic. And so, can you pick and choose? Well, I like I used to have a friend that was like, well, I like the financial aspect of what they're saying, but I don't like the other part. I'm like, can you parse out? I guess that's a question, right? Can you parse out what it is?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or is that a part of grace of being like, I'm going to believe you because I know you, that you are not that person, and I could see you being understand that. But I guess maybe that's a part of you have to know somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's I mean, I've got friends in the States who have said that they just can't talk about things with family anymore because, what political divide they're on, and how that in particular has become so difficult. And I mean, I've got friends there who are looking not to live in the States anymore because they can't handle it. Um, and so we're talking about grace. It also then doesn't give a carte blanche to somebody to say, well, I don't, just because I believe in I just this is the bit that I like, and I'll ignore all these other things, because that then is when you are if you're aligning yourself with a particular group, there is a lot of stuff that comes alongside the baggage of that potentially, and if you so there might well be people saying, well, I'm not racist, I'm not homophobic, I don't agree with all of this stuff, but I'm still going to be supporting this. And it's maybe about how much those values are enshrined in the decisions that are then made. So you can say, oh yeah, so financially, yeah, I think this is a good idea. But if you actually go, well, actually financially though, those decisions are being made because they are discriminating against people for this and this and this and this. Therefore, can you really accept the financial situation and not look deeper and go, oh, okay, so can I live with all of these things that I say that I'm not, if this is what it's going to give me? And a lot of it comes down to money at the end of the day, isn't it? That's a lot of the stuff people come down to money.
It comes down to money. I think that's your point of, can I live with, right? Can I live with this? Mm-hmm. Knowing what I know. Mm-hmm. And there's a point where I think over time it's evolved. I would say actually to that same friend of mine, I don't know if I could be friends with them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in essence, I'm like, I get that you financially, but like you said, the financial decisions are not being made in a vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The financial decisions are affecting people in certain ways. So if you're going to make these financial decisions, if you're going to decide on this financially, but I'm going to look at the other stuff. Well, at some point, back to values, you are buying into all of it, right? And so you have to right? If you're going to buy into all, what are your values? Then, yeah. If you're going to buy into all, if you're going to buy, you can buy into. I can compartmentalize, right, this part, but I can't compartmentalize that, right? You're right. I'm like, yeah, I don't mind deportation, but I like race. I'm against racism. I'm like, I understand how you can have both things, right? Yeah. To do it, how can you live with both of those things, right? And I don't think it's weird because you can't. And you asked the question before when we started this: do you have to give everybody grace, right? And possibly, I think the older I get, the more curmudgeonly I get. I'm going to be that old man screaming at people cutting my bush on the street. I know I'm going to. But I think that I find myself thinking that, no, you don't have to. Or you have to at least figure out why you're not going to give that person grace, right? And make that determination about who they are, but based on like values and your values, and do they align in those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that it's not always wisdom comes with age, but perhaps that's an element of that if you've gone through and taken the time to consider and reflect and know where your values are. And that's the bit about there being, I think that's the thing, there is a line in the sand. If you say, I can support some things, and some things are maybe a little bit more fluid, and there'll be some aspects of stuff that you come across and you just go, absolutely not. That's a line in the sand, whether that's about how you treat me or how you treat somebody else, because that it's not just about how things affect us. it is about actually looking and saying, well, that might not necessarily affect me, but I see how that is. And that is so against the values that I hold dear about how we should treat other people, or what I see as being, just what it means to be a good citizen, or what it means to be a good human, or, or be a good soul, and how we connect with other people.
Yeah.
And it's only if we really are clear on where our values are, that's maybe where we can then say to, like, okay, but whether or not we allow them any grace. But is there an opportunity then to, how do you handle that situation with someone who's been perhaps a friend who you're now seeing? Because I think this is there's a lot of people are, particularly in, if you've got any sort of spiritual inclination at all, kind of thinking, oh my goodness, the world's just such a dark, dark place, and everybody worried about where we are. But it's like, if you didn't see it, it's maybe always been there, kind of festering in the background. What we're now seeing is things that have come to the fore, and it's a bit more obvious about what people are actually saying and thinking, and how you then approach a friend that you might never have you've maybe never seen or had the conversation with them, that actually shows this is what's going on with them and what they're thinking, and having a conversation with somebody, or do you have a conversation with them at all?
Yeah.
To say, is that really what you think and where you stand? Or do you just step away? And that's the question of grace, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you say something? Because I think it's an interesting point where we are in the world. Where you have friends, and you've been friends with people for years, but you know them in specific contexts of things, right?
Yeah.
And specific instances of things and how they do it. You find you have friends who you share everything with, right? And you have other friends where they get pieces of you and things of you, and you don't know. And I think now, and it's because I think I'm going to blame the evils of social media. I don't think it's evil. I think the tool is how the tool is used. But I think now, because people are putting more of themselves out there, people are learning more about their friends than they would have before, and are now being like, oh, you're hardcore right wing. I didn't realize that, right? The part of you that I know is this.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've realized is you feel this way. And now do I just cut you off? Do we have a conversation? Do I not do, like, what's the process now? I think that's what families are finding this out too, right? Uncle John turns out to be hugely homophobic, right? But you never knew Uncle John was homophobic because you never talked to Uncle John about those things, right? Until now, you might now have your children are gay, right? And have come out. And now you're finding out your great uncle is like hugely homophobic. And you're like, and probably you kind of knew it, but you didn't really know it. And it didn't out until it's now. And you have to make the determination, right?
Yeah.
Do I cut Uncle John off? Do I talk to Uncle John? And if I talk to Uncle John, what's the point of talking to Uncle John? What do I want to get out of talking to Uncle John? I think it's the same with friends, right? Making that determination. If I talk to this person, am I going into this to try to change their mind? Or am I going into this to learn about them? To learn what this is and make that determination. Do I still want to be this person's friend? Or do I not want to be this person's friend?
But do you not think, though, this is where things then have to become personal? Because it's so easy to blame whoever it is. So it's the gays' fault. It's the trans people's fault. It's the black people's fault. It's the whatever immigrant race, whatever you want, tick this box. It's their fault. And if you were to challenge someone and say, oh yeah, but I don't mean you. I don't mean you. And this is the bit about, okay, so because none of us are all, like, so I don't represent every other, white, Scottish, almost 60-year-old women in, in the country. We're very different. But it has to then almost be that exploration of, well, what is it though that is really triggering you, that you believe then that this is, it's all these, white 60-year-old women's fault that, that are drinking tea all the time, and that's why I can't get a coffee anywhere.
That's where all the tea's gone. All the tea's gone.
Yep. Cheers. Because it's almost, you take it to like something that seems so ridiculously silly, and you say, well, okay, so why this then? But if you and if we have the grace to have a conversation, but then we have to be really vulnerable ourselves to have that conversation, and we don't know how that other person is going to react. And I'll speak personally. I hate conflict. I don't like to put myself in a situation where I'm going to have conflict with someone. But at the same time, I've got quite clear values about where I will say, sorry, I'm not going there. I can't agree with that. So there are certain points of, that's just beyond my line. But to have the conversation and be able to go into that, I think that's the thing. I'd probably be gearing myself up thinking this is going to be a combat situation.
Yeah. It's funny. I in my mind when you said you don't like conflict, and I'm like, do I thrive on conflict? I don't thrive on conflict, but because I think you get to a point where you have to figure out. I don't either, like, right, because I find like having to lose friends to be horrible, right? Because I like all my I love people, right? But there are people who I've had to just be like, I can't talk to you anymore, right? And sometimes I'll confront it. And I think the first couple times I did that, I went into it thinking, selfishly, I'm going to change their mind. They're going to see my point of view, and they're going to realize how silly their point of view is, and they're going to go on, and they're going to see it. And then you realize they're not going to do that, right? Because people are people, and you cannot change somebody.
Yeah.
You can talk to someone about it, and they take whatever you give them, and they do whatever they want with it, right? But they don't change. Or they can change, but they don't. But that's besides the point. It's the thing of realizing that, right? Giving yourself the grace, and I think that was the thing, right? Myself the grace to go, right? I'm coming into this, realizing that I'm say my piece, and I might lose a friend. Either friend is going to sit back and go, oh, or I'm going to lose a friend in this. And I think I had to get to the point where to give myself the grace of going, oh, I might lose a friend from this. Okay. Right. And not feel guilty and let myself go, like, but if align with my values and how I feel about the world and how I want to be in that's someone you can't be part of my life.
Yeah.
Right. Anymore. Yeah. And that being okay. But I hate that stuff I agree with you. That part of conflict is hard because, right, you make friends are very, right. Friendship is very important and friendship is very fragile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you just never know, right? Because we all come from all different places and all different backgrounds and all these different things, right? That you make. I realize my light is like going, woo, it keeps changing. I'm going to change it.
And we're going to have you in your purple halo
in
soon.
My purple halo, which usually comes, right? The purple halo is like, suddenly it's like, oh.
Saint Gerald.
Oh my God, no. But I think it's a thing, friendship, right, of it being, but I think how much of your, right, when you think about your friendships, right, of how much of yourself, how open are you being going into a friend, right? Not from the beginning, right? Because if, right, you, like every relationship, right, you're building and you're learning and you're going and you're doing and you're figuring each other out and you're finding out. And I don't know if you've been in that. I've been in that thing where you have someone, you're like, oh, this person seems really cool. I really like this person, blah, blah. And then they say something and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. That came out of left field. And you realize, probably didn't come out of left field, actually. It's just what that person is. And the person, right, when they're like, oh, da-da-da. And you're like, oh, I didn't really mean to say, I hate all people. Like, oh, okay. And you have to make that determination, right? Is this someone I want to be friends with?
Yeah.
Or like levels of back to the levels of friendship. How do I want to be friends with this person? Do I want to be friends with this person? Is this person an acquaintance? Is this person a friend? But I think the grace that we give ourselves is just as important as the grace we give to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of not feeling guilty when you have to make those determinations.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be, I suppose, a quiet uncoupling, if we like.
what did Gwyneth Paltrow say? Conscious uncoupling. That's when she left Chris Martin. Conscious uncoupling, which I was like, what is that? What the hell is that? But I actually kind of get it now.
Kind of like, yes, we've just because it's then, and I think I've got, I can see that there are friends who are maybe there for a season, isn't it? You've got friends that you are part of and might be really close to for a particular time, and then that can shift, and it might be, is it because of beliefs and stuff? Maybe not. Maybe it's just been because the two of you were happened to be at a particular, you had other things in common at that particular time. I mean, I'm thinking kind of as the children were growing up, I had friends that were, their friends' parents and stuff like that. And then once they've grown, the thing that actually brought you together might not be around anymore, because the kids are growing, they're away, so there might not be a reason to be a friend with them in the same way, because the friendship was about making sure that they could have play dates and whatever it was. So sometimes there's that. And it can just be a drifting, perhaps, of where it's you just don't get together, you don't call them, you don't have you don't see them so often, and it's a kind of gradual thing. Or it's I absolutely heard you say this and there's no way, and I and so we've got everything on that level. And it's only if we really, I suppose, really understand ourselves and what we want out of our relationships, and be willing to explore that. Yeah. And I suppose that's really why we're talking today, because over the last 4 years, we have gone everywhere with conversations.
Everywhere, right? I've told you more things than I've told people I've known for decades. Right. Okay. Or we've talked about more things. Mm-hmm. Because I think we are both willing to be like, right? Because I mean, right, your friends you talk about with everything. And you became one of those friends almost automatically, that we just started sharing things with each other. We just started sharing how we felt, and we would talk about things, who we are with each other.
Yeah.
Which I found, I think probably about a year in. And I remember someone asking me, well, who is, I said, oh, I can't miss this. We have to do this thing. I have my call with Kim. I can't miss it. It was the person I was dating at the time. And he was like, well, who's Kim? Kim is my friend. We talk about everything. I actually literally almost called you, Kim's my spiritual advisor. Right. And I realized that's like doesn't even come close to what Kim is to me. Right. But I realize it's because I think we are so willing to, from the moment we started talking, and you were very vulnerable with me talking about starting your nonprofit and why you wanted to start it, and what you were doing with your work and where you were coming from. And I found that because many people just be like, I just want to talk to you about starting a nonprofit. Yeah. And that's the level they keep it. And you went almost immediately 5 steps deeper than that. And I remember just sitting there going, wow, this person's opening up a lot. And me going, which then I was like, okay, if she's doing that, I can do that then. Why would I just be like this surface person and be like, I'm going to tell you how to start a nonprofit. We're not going to talk about anything else. And I think we just started talking, we both we met each other where we were, right? Or where we were willing to be with each other. And that sort of has been the thing that's grown and built upon itself, I think, is this sort of openness and willingness to talk about everything, to be vulnerable, to express how we feel. And I think, right, we haven't seen each other in person for a very long time, until I think it was earlier this year, end of last year. Yeah. Earlier this year, when I came.
Earlier this year. Yep. You came over to see. Yep.
I think we hadn't seen each other in person. We'd seen each other in person, and I think we hadn't seen each other in person for a year.
Yeah. Yep. It was.
Right? Because we'd been talking online, and it was easier in lifes, and it's what it is. I remember seeing you in person, and I was like, oh my God, yes, this is this connection. And person, I think we had the biggest hug, because I was like, yes, okay. Yeah. And that, back to that sort of that takes time to build
It
and
does.
takes
Yeah.
time to grow, and the willingness to actually get to know somebody, and back to that willingness to be vulnerable. And I think we've lost the willingness to be vulnerable. And no one wants to be vulnerable. Everyone wants to come from it. Everyone wants what they want, and everyone wants to be seen as coming from a point of strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Of like,
Yeah.
this is me, and I deserve these things, and I'm stronger than you, so therefore, right?
Yep. Those power struggles and things that go on then about, yeah. Mm-hmm.
About
Yeah.
getting it. And it's an interesting thing to me, right? I think that same ex of mine one day looked at me and said, "You don't lack confidence." And I said, "No." Which to him was not the expression, which is not the reaction he
So
was
that wasn't a
looking at.
compliment. It wasn't
That
a
wasn't a
compliment.
compliment. It was like, and I remember thinking that I think because when you know yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's confidence, but I think you need to know yourself. And when you know yourself, you can be vulnerable, right? And maybe when you know yourself, you can give people grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Maybe.
you are confident in yourself, and you know yourself, and you know who you are, and you know your values, you know your worth, you know these things. And so therefore, you're open to be curious.
Yeah.
You're open to
That makes
be,
a lot of sense. Because I think, I would say to, ask a lot of people about, do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? And if you say that in Scotland, I mean, that is a real, somebody, oh God, she loves herself. That's a real put down, I mean, that's like, how dare you? How dare you love yourself? That's, oh my goodness, look at her. She was chocolate. She'd eat herself.
yes.
And I have always liked and loved myself.
Yeah.
And I think about that. You're saying about how we've grown up. I mean, I was lucky, I suppose, to be surrounded by very loving, supportive people who didn't all, I mean, yeah, there was times when back in the day you got a scalp in the bum for something that you'd done, or you were told off, or you were, there was boundaries. But I was raised in a very kind, kind of loving environment, mostly by strong women, I will say. Yeah, I had very strong women around me. So I haven't had a lot of the hang-ups I think that lots of people have about them not being enough themselves. And therefore, if you don't feel that you're enough and you always need somebody else's approval for something, then you can't really be vulnerable and say what you feel, because you really want that person's got to like you or love you or whatever, so that you can't really maybe say what you really think, because if they don't agree with you, then they won't like you or love you, and therefore you're going to feel less about yourself, and oh my goodness, we're in that whole negative spiral space.
Yeah.
So yeah, and maybe that's the thing, that's that what we need is more self-love and self-compassion, and and actually going, you know what, if we actually all felt secure in ourselves, then we wouldn't maybe feel this need for me to be right and you to be wrong.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think it's right. I think if people were much more, people had the awareness and the self-love. I love this, right? The love, like I love my, right? I remember being told, like, right, you really do love yourself. Yes, I do. Right. So there's pieces of, right. Because when I moved here to UK, and moved to Scotland, it struck me how self-deprecating people were about themselves, and how much people were like, oh, what was it? I think the first time I'd heard tall poppy syndrome, and you don't want to stick your head above the poppies and everything. And I was like, and coming from the States,
Yeah.
for good or for bad, right?
Very different.
It's very different, right? Reality of like how we are raised, right? And how many of us, how we are brought up, and how we are right back to, right, what do they call American exceptionalism, right? That we all think we are special, right? Which I do, and we do, right? But I think that's how we're raised, but I think that's how you have to be, right? I think in a country where everyone, and I do think there's a lot of people wanting to be special and feeling they're special without loving themselves. Like they sort of want specialness. They think, oh, well, I'm here and I'm special. You're special, but do you love yourself? The specialness comes from how much you love yourself and how much you are understanding of yourself and who you are and what you want out of life and what you want to do and things. And it was coming here that it was interesting because I was like, and I think that's probably why we clicked, because you were very aware of like what made you happy, your self-love, your self-awareness, who you are, and your confidence in yourself and what you wanted and what you needed. And I remember finding that really refreshing because I'd met so many people who were not that way. Right. And that they were very much like, don't stick your head don't stick your head above the thing.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. And I was like, wow, but how do you actually, if you're never going to do that, you were then looking for other people to validate your existence, right? Being on dating sites is all people, many people are I'm going to say all, but many of them, the majority of them are looking for someone else to validate their existence. So if I reach out to you and you answer me back, that's validating my existence. Then therefore I never need to talk to you again because I validated your existence. Unless I need more validation. They're validation junkies. Right. And I think that is sort of where we are, is that everyone wants to be validated. I want my opinion to be validated. I want myself to be validated. I need to be this. And I'm like, you need external, and people looking for external validation rather than validating themselves, right? And feeling themselves like, I don't need you to validate me because I know my worth. I know who I am. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at.
Yeah. Yeah, because it doesn't mean that we are perfect beings. Well, of course, you and I are, but that's goes without saying.
That goes without saying. Come on. Everyone knows that.
But isn't it? It's that thing about being able to say, yeah, I understand the things that I still want to work on. I understand the challenges that I have, but I can love myself with all of that because and therefore, yeah. So we don't need to, have statues erected in our image, or be given the Peace Prize, or be given
the golden statue of me in my office so I can look at it all day. Here's a golden statue of me.
I mean, I wonderful. Adore me. Yeah. And that's the thing. And this is the problem that we see in the world is, we take that to extremes then about you, and you look and you go, okay, so there are people there in positions of power and authority who require to be worshipped because they actually don't love themselves.
And how hollow they must be. Right? Yeah. That you need to, like, I don't love myself. I need people to love me for me to feel valid, right? It's an incredibly hollow experience, a hollow existence, right? To be that person. Because I wonder in that your inner monologue about how do I get more people to love me, right? How do I get more people to, right? If I'm growing because I'm special because people love me, instead of being like, I'm special because I'm special, right? I'm awesome. I'm great. I remember we did one of the book projects you did when I was running the Superpower Agency. Was about what makes you. We titled it "What Makes You Special." Is about so having young people talk about what makes them special. Which when I proposed it, was the teacher was even like, "It's a very American concept, Gerald." But it was like I was like, "Yeah," but I think young people need to start thinking about what is the thing that makes them special, because so many of them, there are so many things that make them special. But you could see that they weren't actually thinking about those things. They came from the fact that I was talking to some young people about their, it was college essays or what they would do, their personal statements. And the personal statement was like, well, what stands out about you? And so many people and so many of them were like, oh, nothing. And then I was like, I don't think nothing. What? And you poke a little bit, you pull the thread a little bit, you poke. And you would hear things like, oh, I'm like the 3 times the dance champion for my age group. right? Or I'm the mixed martial arts champion for my age group for all of Scotland, or I'm this. And I was like, you don't think that that's special, or right? That someone like I come to school, I've got 100% attendance for school, or I've got this, or I cook for my parents, or I do this, I like cooking, and these things that I was like, the things don't have to be extraordinarily special. There are things that are special about you, from the mundane to the extraordinary. But just seeing that you are a special person because you just are, right? And how do you accept that and sort of and so back to the self-love thing, right? And I think that is the piece of it. And I don't think that has become I don't know if that's become a bad thing to say, or if people just aren't saying it enough. I actually can't decide if people are just not talking about it as much. About, right, I love myself. I say it probably once a day. And not right
on the mirror.
All right. I love me. I love me. To myself. I don't say it out loud to people, but to myself, like, oh, I love you. Oh, I love me. Oh, I love this. I love this about me. Oh God, that sounds so conceited when you say it out loud, which I understand why people don't do it, which is why you don't say it out loud. But that I realize in my 20s that if I didn't love myself, no one was going to love me.
And if we, and if we don't, even that thing I would say to it, like if that concept feels like a bit much, that you're starting to think about, well, be your own best friend. Absolutely be your own best friend. And when we can do that, then maybe we can give grace to ourselves for the times when we mess up. Because if you're being your very own best friend, you're going to allow yourself the grace to say, oh, okay, so I screwed up a bit there. Didn't handle that particularly well. Maybe I've said some stuff or done some things that maybe weren't ideal. Okay, could you do better next time? Well, I can try. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that allows you then perhaps to then give other people grace, because actually if you recognise that in essence, people are genuinely trying their best. It might be though that we look at it and go, that's a really effed up way of kind of trying to do that.
Is that your best? Right.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's where you go, oh my, we'll get rid of it. But it's, if that allows us to then be open to the potential that somebody might find there's a different way of thinking or doing or acting, and that it's okay to change our minds, and it's okay to learn something new, and it's okay then to be forgiving when someone actually says, do you know what, I just realized I was on somebody's coattails for a long time thinking this was the answer, and now I'm kind of seeing what's really there, and maybe it's like that's not where I was. If someone can admit and say that they're sorry, if something I've said might have hurt you, I might not have had that intention to hurt you, but that I think if we actually, I think it takes that awareness of ourselves, it takes that allowance for ourselves, then we can then allow other people to have that space and that grace.
Yeah. How can you say, right, when you're wrong, can you admit you're wrong? Can you say you're sorry? And can you just, and can you be like, you know what, I don't know what I don't know. I screwed up. And how do I make amends, and how do I do it, and how do I, right? And if you can do that for yourself, you can give that to other, right? You can give that grace to other people.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I think that's it, right? How do you there's a bit of it, being able to give grace to others means you have to give back to giving grace to yourself, and being able to understand yourself when you're right and when you're wrong, and being able to be open about both of those things.
Yeah. And that just takes a little bit of honesty and the willingness to go there, to learn, to evolve. And maybe if they tune into our podcast,
you too may evolve.
Because that's the thing, is so we're just going to have conversations about lots of different topics, and we're not expecting you to agree with us on everything that we're saying.
No, right. And if you're listening, you at least want to know, Or you're listening and you want to then put bad things in the comments and be like, oh my God, like, right? That's where we are, right? Sadly. Like, oh, why are they saying these things? We'd rather you say, you know what? You don't agree with us? What was it they used to say?
If you ain't got nothing, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say nothing
don't say anything at all. Don't say nothing at all. That's fine, right? Move on to another podcast. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
maybe we've just thrown a few things for you to think about this.
That's right. Yeah. It's about thinking, right? Here's some different people coming up with different thoughts. Some of the same thoughts. Two perfect people being perfect. No, but definitely, I think this is what it is, right? We're going to talk and we're going to keep talking and just seeing where it goes. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. First episode. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Look at us.
So hopefully you'll join us next time, and we're going to be talking about some more stuff. We hope you enjoyed our conversation, and if you did, it would be great if you could leave us a 5-star review and maybe even share this with someone else that you think might enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope you join us next week for our next Soul Kind Connections conversation. Bye.